Food is fuel for your body, your mind, and definitely your sport. But let's face it, nutrition is confusing, and the expectations on girls and women to be thin and have a six-pack are exhausting. If you've ever been frustrated with your body, confused about nutrition, obsessed with eating healthy, or guilty when you don't, underate, overate, or overtrained, and overwhelmed with all the pressure, then this podcast is for you. Nutrition can be easy. You can take control of it, but it might start with letting go of control by asking for help and making a change. I'm Lindsay Elizabeth Cortez, sports dietitian and owner of Rise Up Nutrition, where I empower female athletes to overcome nutrition concerns and perform at their highest level, to stop being confused by all the mixed or harmful messages, and finally have confidence in your body as a fierce, fit, and fueled female athlete. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Female Athlete Nutrition Podcast. Super exciting because we have another guest today who is also a dietitian, but she's so much more than that. She is my colleague here at Rise Up Nutrition. She is the support and success coach and assistant dietitian who works with my clients at Rise Up Nutrition. She's also a great friend. So here we have today Mari Perkins. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Lindsay.
Of course. And we're really lucky. As you guys might know, what I do with my clients is virtual consulting. And so the whole business operates virtually. And I put out a job posting to hire another dietitian. And I don't know, the stars aligned because Mari was the perfect fit. And then as I'm looking over her application, she just so happened to live in the exact same city as me. So stars aligned for that one, right?
That was awesome.
It was really awesome. So we're actually here in person today. She's in my home office and we're recording this episode. So we try and meet up every once in a while, even though it's a virtual business. So important to have those interactions in person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love the community that we get to be here, even though we could be anywhere in the world.
Mm-hmm. I agree. So besides being an awesome dietitian, she's also a sports dietitian and a great athlete now, but definitely has her own athletic background. A little short bio on her. She was an international elite gymnast and then went on to compete at the University of Alabama, class of 2006, which is one of the top gymnastics programs in the country. So I can't really state that enough when I say that she was a very high-level gymnast. And I think that's where a lot of her passion for helping female athletes stems from, is her experience as a female athlete herself and just some things that she went through training at such a high level at such a young age too. Gymnasts really start and often peak in that sport at a really young age.
Yeah, there's a lot of injuries that go into it. It's a lot of dedication at a young age, a lot of two-a-day trainings, 9 hours, even when you're a young 13-year-old. So your body just can easily burn out at a young age. I competed internationally as elite gymnast, and that's when I did start burning out a little bit. And it took a lot of discipline to kind of keep that going moving forward without really ruining my body long-term. And when I was a senior in high school, it's when I had a pretty traumatic injury. I shattered my jaw in several different places and had my jaw wired shut. And I was starting to kind of face a little bit of depression at that point, kind of burnout.
Yeah.
And the break was actually a blessing of a break because I wasn't mature enough to say I need to stop. There was a lot of pressure from family, from coaches, from the system to keep going at that high level to compete for Team USA.
This was senior year of high school?
Yes. Yeah. So when I did...
That's a massive injury.
Yeah, break my jaw. I had to take... I was wired for 8 weeks. I had to take quite a bit of time off. And that's when I was being recruited for college. Decided to kind of stop pursuing the Olympic track and decided to go NCAA track. And colleges were still recruiting even though my mouth was wired shut. And that's when the University of Alabama coaches said, why don't you take the summer off to really recover, kind of get out of that burnout stage, and we'll just retrain and get you back on track when you come to college.
So you took the whole summer before going into college off.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's so interesting to hear and quite honestly inspiring because I think that is a time when people are pushing throughout high school athletics. They're pushing and pushing and pushing, trying to make it to the next level. And then they keep pushing. And quite honestly, what I've seen a lot of people do is burn out freshman or sophomore year of college. So that was great that you had the support of coaches even encouraging you, take the summer off. What was that like then that fall semester? joining the team and getting back into it?
It was a big adjustment for sure. 'Cause then I just got my period that summer for the first time because I was able to take a break, gain a little weight, kind of allow my body to adjust to become a woman that I wasn't allowing to become while training so hard.
Wow.
So it was like the period, a little bit of weight gain, the adjustment to being away from home, cooking my own meals, trying to figure out meal plans, and take on a full college schedule. So fall was a big adjustment. I was very homesick.
Yeah.
It was very tough, but I had great support with coaches during that fall to kind of find that adjustment.
That's so much going on in such a short amount of time while simultaneously having a lot of pressure, I would say. And even if you had a supportive team, I think a lot of athletes feel this way, and it might even bump it up even more to say gymnasts, like the pressure you put on yourself was probably kind of overwhelming.
Yeah, I wouldn't have said I was a perfectionist at the time, but looking back, I definitely was. There was a lot of pressure on myself just without coach pressure. But then after that adjustment, I'd say spring, the coaches, I think there was more pressure to get that weight under control. And then that's when I started dealing with if I lost weight, I lost my period, I lost my cycle. So that began a constant balance of how do I keep my weight and my health up without losing my period and still performing and being at the ideal weight that my coaches wanted me to be at.
Okay, yeah. So let's dive into this whole period thing a little more because you've dropped some hints at it a couple times. Okay, so first things first, it sounds like you were late onset. So we talk about missing periods a lot on this show and, with our clients. We talk about amenorrhea, and typically what we're talking about is actually usually is secondary amenorrhea, which is when you get your period and then you lose it. And in your case, what you're expressing is what's clinically called primary amenorrhea, or a lack of a menstrual cycle before age 16. So you must have been, senior in high school, 18-ish. And quite frankly, my story is not that different either. I also started as a gymnast. We know this about each other, but for our listeners, gymnastics was my passion before running. I was not at the level that Marie was. I was like a level 8 gymnast. If you don't know gymnastics, there's 10 levels and then there's elite. And I would even say there's a big, big jump between 10 and elite in college. So either way, though, there's something about the sport of gymnastics, whether it be the pounding of it, of the intensity, the long hours that you put in day and week after week for so many years, or maybe it's the young age that athletes are starting at. How old were you when you started gymnastics?
I started a little late. I was 10.
Okay. Which means you got really good really fast.
Yeah. And it saved a couple years of pounding.
It probably did.
But it was that much more intense through those next 8
when you
years.
Did start. Yeah. Yeah. Because I started at 7. Yeah. So late onset. And so it's almost sounding like you're saying, had you not taken a break, who knows if you would have, we don't know.
Yeah.
We can't make those assumptions, but taking that break from the workouts for a summer, allowing your body to change. Now that couldn't have been easy, Marie.
No. And I met my future husband during that summer. So I think there was a little extra spark of hormones. And I was like, oh, boys.
That's good. That's good. Whatever way you can get those hormones to kick in.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah. So that couldn't have been easy though. Kind of having your body change in a short amount of time.
Yeah, it was interesting because I was excited to take that summer off to really go on some trips I wanted to go on, to take a break from the sport I was so intensely passionate about and explore some of the things that I never got to during high school. And then when I got to college, I feel like it was more of a fight to maintain my health as a young woman because I was finding out, hey, I feel better now at this weight. I feel better and I have more energy now. But I'm getting pressure to drop weight a little bit to perform again. And so there was this constant struggle between the sport and my own body, what was healthy for me and where my coaches thought I needed to be to perform. Because we were doing bod pod and body comps and weigh-ins every single week. And I would actually have a little bit of argue with them to stand up to say, hey, I'm actually healthier at this weight. And I got my period at this weight. I have more energy at this weight, even though aesthetically you want me to be down. So that was a little bit of a struggle.
And I feel like you were ahead of your time for even saying that. This is early 2000s. What was that like for you? I mean, did you know anything? Did you have any knowledge at the time of female athlete triad or no? So this was just you really just from like the depths of your soul, just saying, I feel better.
I do.
Don't make me change.
Yeah. Being very intuitive with my own body. And I think sometimes the coaches would say I'm too sensitive, but I just knew those fine tweaks, even a couple pounds made a big difference for me and how I felt.
Yeah. That's really, really powerful. And I think we can all like take a lesson and a page out of your book on this one of just standing up for yourself, despite what coaches or other people might be saying around you or even doing in changing their bodies, changing your weight. And just, if it doesn't feel right to you, to stand up for yourself, to go based on feeling and performance and health. Like, hey, I'm healthier. Hey, I'm 18 years old. I'm supposed to be getting my period and I get my period at this weight, but when I'm 5 pounds lighter, I don't. So I'm not going to do that. And just standing up for yourself. There's so much to be said for that. And again, just as a time reference, I think that back then, there was less sports dietitians in the collegiate environment, definitely in pro sports as well. People always find this shocking, but the field of sports nutrition is very new.
It is.
Right? I mean, as you were going through school studying nutrition to become a dietitian, did people talk about sports nutrition? Like how?
Not at all. We had a dietitian that was on call. If we really needed her, we could reach out and maybe make an appointment. Yeah. But there's definitely not one on staff. There's one on staff now. There's several. Alabama has a big nutrition program. Yeah. But back then there was nothing.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And so that's why it's like so powerful that you did stand up for yourself at a time when maybe there wasn't as much discussion and talk about it and as much support. Whereas now lots of college programs, I'm a sports dietitian at a local university. We both worked at the college level as sports dietitians. Like you said, Alabama, where you went to school, has a huge program now with lots of nutrition support. So like this stuff is in place now. Coaches kind of know, at least I'll say good coaches know, hey, nutrition is outside of my realm, refer them to a dietitian. But that wasn't really happening at the time that you were competing.
Not as much. And I think that's what sparked an interest in nutrition. I was going towards pre-med and realized that's too much to carry while doing a sport and looked at the prereqs for some of the other majors, and nutrition lined up with a lot of the chemistry, biology, science classes. So took a couple one-on-one nutrition courses and realized nutrition has even more of an impact on my performance and my health than I even know. And so I started just diving in a little bit deeper, and it did support a lot of what I was feeling. And then I was able to put the science behind it.
Yeah. I was the same, opposite in that I entered my academics as, studying nutrition, but about halfway through, I was like, maybe I want to go pre-med, because they are so similar. Yes. Really, they're only a few course-wise, only a few classes away from each other. And, but then at the end, I decided in a similar fashion I loved how nutrition was something I could apply to my life. And now it had a direct impact on other lives as well. So, yeah. So throughout the rest of that freshman year, as we were talking about, you mentioned that you did kind of have to fight for your body a little bit. And what would you say to other young gymnasts, aspiring gymnasts, or gymnasts maybe on an elite team or an NCAA team, advice as to, how they should treat their bodies?
I would say your body is so important, and you are the only one that's ultimately going to know how it feels, how it's going to perform. And you're going to be stuck with your body for the rest of your life. Even after sport, you still have your body. And so what you do to it now at a young age is going to affect the rest of your life. So don't just think in the moment, I have to sacrifice or surrender or not take care of it because of this time, because you're going to face the consequences later on in life. So think the here and now, but also think long-term. Will this help me long-term when I'm thinking about my energy and I want to be a mom? And as I'm aging, will I feel good later on? But then in the moment with your sport, I think you will feel better when you're listening to your body, when you have the discipline to fuel your body enough and fuel it right, and to also have the discipline to rest when you need to rest. No one is going to tell you to rest more. You're really going to have to fight for that, because we just live in an age where we think doing more means being more productive and being better. But really, when you rest, you're able to continue on and train harder. So really have the discipline to rest and refuel your body.
I love that. I actually like to think about resting as part of your training. A lot of people feel like if I'm resting, I'm not doing anything, but that is a crucial part in what you're doing in order to train.
Yes.
So that's key. And you dropped a little nugget there. You are a mom thinking about future life as a mom. And I should have mentioned this in your intro because it's just so impressive. All that you do. You're a mom of 3 beautiful children, 2 boys, 1 girl, and a puppy. And I think this is important to think about, nutrition is so important as an athlete, but how does nutrition play a role in your life right now as a busy working mom?
I think it plays just as important of a role now, because if I'm rushing with my kids or prepping meals for them and I'm getting peanut butter and jelly crusts and a few of their goldfish at the end of lunch, I'm drained and I'm stressed, I'm irritable, I'm exhausted, and I'm not 100% there for them or for myself. And so I even, just like in a sport, have to really be disciplined to prioritize myself and refuel myself, take time for myself to rest in order to be there and be present for everybody else. So it's very similar. It carries on, not just at a young age in a sport, but even later on in life. And as you get older, it's even harder to go without resting or refueling. So I think I even have to be more disciplined now. And training has helped me now to be disciplined in those areas, to rest and not push through. And I literally have to lay down every day and take a nap and rest. And it's a little bit from the adrenal fatigue from pushing so hard being younger. But if I don't rest and eat properly now, I'm drained probably about 4 or 5 in the afternoon.
There's a lot to keep up with. And I think that's where, fueling for performance, it's like performance doesn't just mean your performance in a competition. It's like performance in life. In life. Yes. Yeah. Your performance for your family, your performance to show up with energy every day and to be a great mom. And then your performance in your career as well. There's so much that word performance can mean. And I would encourage all of our listeners to kind of broaden their mind to think about, what are all the areas of my life that I want to achieve optimal performance in?
And writing down those long-term goals, thinking long-term, because there were so many times where I trained and I pushed through pneumonia, pushed through bronchitis, pushed through mono. And now my adrenal glands are really just shot from those days. And I'm doing a lot to try and recover that and stay optimal on my nutrition and rest. But this is long-term consequences that my body is kind of facing because of what I pushed through in the past. So think of that long-term, ladies.
For our younger listeners, that can be hard. Or I don't even know if I want to say younger listeners. I think for anybody, we're living in the moment, and there's a lot of value to be said for living in the moment. But if you're only thinking about what you want to achieve today, that can change your future. And you do want to address that when you're, having that all or nothing mindset when it comes to fueling and your sport and pushing your body in the gym and just, how is this going to make me feel 10 years down the road?
And I want to address the mental side of things because I really struggled with depression back then, even high school, college, and now have to really be on top of it because my exhaustion is a trigger for depression. And so if I push through my exhaustion, depression becomes a lot harder to manage. And so it's okay to open up about that. I thought that was a weakness, or I was afraid to tell people that I was kind of dealing mentally. But just get help, open up, see a counselor, talk with people that you really trust about what's going on, and don't be afraid to kind of share and be vulnerable in that area, because mental health is something we need to take very seriously.
Do you mind sharing a few ways? Obviously, you said open up and talk. Do you mind sharing a few ways that you've addressed mental health in the past and how you really, when you see yourself, okay, I'm not in a good headspace, things aren't going well, what are your 3 action steps that you take?
Working with a counselor was a big one. That really opened my eyes. She was able to address kind of steps, what to do in those situations, what's really going on. Am I crazy? What are these thoughts? She was able to really put science behind what's going on. Getting help if you need an antidepressant or whatnot, maybe just counseling and getting stuff off your chest is helpful. But then Also resting, really prioritizing your self-care, doing things that you enjoy, getting out, especially with COVID being more isolated, finding ways that you can get community, even virtually, but just getting out in the sun. Winter is really tough. So making sure the vitamin D is up, your nutrients are up. Me, I'm really social. So making sure I'm staying out when I start feeling this like heavy, wet blanket of depression coming. I want to recluse and isolate myself. And that's an even more important time to make sure I'm getting out at least once a day, seeing people, but then also what's beneficial for me that re-energizes. What can I do that brings me joy? And finding that at least once or twice a day that gets me out, smile, watch a funny video, make sure you're in communication with people. How are you doing today? So that you're not just trying to go at it alone.
I love that. So seeking help from a counselor, talking about these things, getting professional help, engaging with your community, feeling involved and like there's a purpose. And what was the third thing?
Rest and doing things that bring you joy.
Self-care and doing things that bring you joy. Self-care. Self-care is so important. And actually, I feel like we hit on maybe a little bit of all three, not that we're licensed counselors, but just in what we do, the work we do with Rise Up Nutrition. We are talking to our clients. We do one-on-one sessions. We do group sessions. So we are talking and I mean, we are nutrition counselors. We're not mental health counselors per se, but we are addressing like that whole spectrum. When we're talking, these things come up. We create a community here at Rise Up Nutrition. We actually call ourselves a team. You and me are a team, but more so with our clients. When we do have our group calls, we call those team talks because we are a community. We are a team of female athletes who are all overcoming these nutrition concerns. And then we practice self-care as a team as well. We actually have Self-Care Sunday, which is a little thing that we kind of quote unquote celebrate with our clients. Every Sunday, we all share, what's one thing we're going to do today to take care of ourselves. And it changes every week. And quite frankly, just like you said, self-care should be happening every day. It's just kind of a routine here at Rise Up Nutrition that we do it on Sundays, but it changes every week. Sometimes self-care is going outside for an invigorating hike with your family. And sometimes it's like feet up, I'm going to be on the couch. Sometimes self-care is, I really want to meal prep and like get myself ready for the week. And sometimes self-care is, I'm ordering a pizza. It changes week to week. And something that you're really good at, Marie, is bringing that joy and that fun into life and making sure every day, not only what's one thing I could do to care for myself today, but what's one thing I can do to have fun, bring joy into my life.
Yeah. And that's what I think about with self-care. I remember in kind of a tough time, the counselor said, what are 10 things that bring you joy? 10 things you're passionate about. And I couldn't even think of stuff that I had done that I wanted to pursue again, besides my sport, kind of outside as just a young woman, or things that brought me joy. And it really took effort to find things that really brought me joy. It was fulfilling. And so that's a work in progress, and it's okay to just start with one thing and pursue that. And then when you find joy in that one thing, it leads to others. It's a domino effect. But it does take discipline to really take time to fuel and feed yourself, not just with food, but just with life and joy, because life is draining and you have to refill yourself somehow. And that takes discipline. It's not just, people think it's like extra, when I have time, I'll do that. But you have to do things that refill you and bring you joy in order to pursue and keep on going.
Oh my gosh. You just said something so key. So athletes can be so disciplined, so structured, so regimented. And there's a beauty in that. It also can be draining sometimes to be like, okay, my schedule is so full every half hour of the day, or like everything is planned, everything is goal and results oriented. And that in itself can actually be draining. But the thing is, if that's how you operate, if that's how you achieve things, then use your talent of being disciplined to actually help you. Use your discipline to incorporate self-care in. Use your discipline to write a list of things that you enjoy doing and then go do them. And we actually talked about this on one of our team talks with our clients. And we a lot of our clients do struggle, somewhat with, quite frankly, like an identity crisis. If if so much of their life, whether it just be in recent weeks and months or years, has been consumed and all consumed with food and sport and training and eating and pushing their body, we kind of do lose ourselves and we start to identify ourselves with our sport.
Mm-hmm.
And so I remember, actually challenged our clients to write out a list of things that are fun.
Mm-hmm.
And so I want to challenge all of our listeners to this too, that to write out, try and see if you can fill out an entire page of a journal or a notebook, 1 through 30 of just things you like to do that are not your sport, things you like to do, or even if it's not something you like to do, just something you like, like I remember after this challenge, I wrote down I like candles, right? Remember this?
Yes.
I like candles. Literally, as we're recording this podcast, I have a candle burning right now. I just really like burning candles. I love the smell. I love the vibe it gives me. I like candles. So as I wrote that down on my list, I was like, okay, well, let me learn how to make candles. And I did. That was an activity for the next few weekends in a row. And, as a person, I grew, I learned, I expanded. So if you can find ways, I want to challenge all you listeners again right now, write out a list of things that you like, things that bring you happiness, things that bring you joy, and that are not necessarily your sport. And then when you have that full list, start doing it. Start using your discipline to say, I'm going to make time to do these things, or I'm going to find a way, or I'm going to ask somebody to do this with me and, prioritize it.
Mm-hmm. I'm a very scheduled person, and I will actually schedule in my planner or my phone, my self-care time. I literally have to make it an appointment to go do those things. Even if it's something like scrapbooking or going and get my nails done, I literally have to make myself an appointment to go do it. Otherwise, I won't prioritize it and I will get caught up into something else and just go, oh, that's not a priority. I don't need to do that. I don't have time for that today. So make an appointment for self-care.
Really good advice. And I think the other point that I would like to add to all of this is when people start not feeling well, whether their energy levels aren't feeling good, their mental health is declining, we kind of, I don't know if you feel the same way, but suddenly feel like we need to fix something, like something's wrong, I need to fix it. And I think that in the society we live in today, the quick fix or the obvious fix that people assume is, let me start eating healthier and exercise more. That's going to make me feel better. I'm not feeling good. Let me just get on a diet. Let me just eat cleaner and let me get back on my workout routine. And I think what we're trying to highlight here is that might not always be the case. It might be these other things, these self-care things that you actually need to bring more attention to. And if you do go down that path and you are like, okay, well, let me pay more attention to my nutrition, and you start doing that and you find that that's draining you more, then that wasn't the problem,
Absolutely. With me, like I said, the exhaustion is a trigger for kind of a spiral into depression. And so I really have to be disciplined to not do as much, disciplined to not do something.
Yeah.
And that's the thing for me. I'm a doer. For a while, I really found value in how much I was productive or kind of the external appearance of what I did. And I'm realizing I find so much joy and purpose and fulfillment in life when I do less, but have more joy doing it.
That's a really good reminder for everyone. So going back to just you as a dietitian, you've done a lot in your career, and obviously you're working with Rise of Nutrition, me and our clients right now. Kind of a broad question, but what do you think is so cool about nutrition? Why are you so passionate about it?
Because so many people are curious about it. And there's a lot of questions, and I love knowing the knowledge and the science behind it to give people an accurate answer.
Yeah.
There's just a lot out there that we get fed from Hollywood or social media or just somebody's opinion, and it actually ends up hurting us, and it's not healthy for us. And so with nutrition, I love having a base point of how to help people from a physical standpoint, because it does affect our mindset physically, mentally, emotionally. It affects so much. And so with being passionate about health, nutrition was kind of an easy piece I could plug to help at least one part health-wise. But then it just kind of opens up a whole new pathway of helping someone out. They open up through nutrition, but then they start opening up about other areas of their lives that they could use help with or being vulnerable with, that I can come alongside and support them in other areas.
That's such a good point. We recently had a client who started their nutrition journey with us and made amazing strides in just taking care of herself and taking care of her body in the right way for her, in the healthy way for her. And what's interesting is that after working together, it motivated her to book an appointment with a psychiatrist, which she needed, and to take the appropriate medication that she needed for herself. And it was like nutrition just opened the door for her to start taking that step forward to care for herself. And nutrition was, like you said, just one piece of the puzzle, but it opened that door. And I thought that was so powerful and so impactful for this client of ours.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. So Mari, I have some rapid fire questions for you to finish up our episode. If there was one food that you could eat every single day for the rest of your life and never get sick of it, what would it be?
Ice cream.
I know, such a favorite. What's your favorite flavor? Do you have a favorite flavor?
I do like this Cold Stone birthday cake mix, caramel birthday cake, sprinkles.
So good.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's something special about Cold Stone too, specifically.
Yeah.
Oh, amazing.
Yep.
What is, obviously you were a gymnast, but what is your favorite spectator sport, your favorite sport to watch? Is it gymnastics or something else?
It's still gymnastics for me. I still love the sport, and I love just knowing how they're feeling in the moment and just connecting with them. It's still my favorite sport to watch.
I'm curious, when you watch gymnastics, does your heart start racing or does your body tense up? Do you like start to feel it physically, or can you just watch it and enjoy it?
A little of both. It's not so intense that it's stressful to watch it, but I just have so much compassion for what they're going through, or when they do nail their routine, to celebrate with them because I know how that feels. Yeah. And then also if there's a mistake or they mess up, my heart goes out to them as well because I know the effort and the work they've put into that and what that means to them as well. So there's a little bit more that I can connect with.
Yeah, absolutely. What about your favorite sport to participate in? Still gymnastics or something else?
I've given myself so many concussions after gymnastics. Yeah. I'm not allowed to do anything.
No. So what's your favorite sport to participate in?
Really, it's just maintaining health for me now. It's sport with my kids. I mean, I'll run around, play soccer, baseball, basketball, do those. Golf is one that we're doing lessons in now as a family. But really just some light circuit training, Pilates. And I've explored yoga a lot more after college, which has been really helpful mentally and physically. So I would say yoga has been a really great sport, which people don't usually associate yoga as a sport, but that's been really beneficial for me health-wise.
I love it. And then our last question is there a female athlete currently or in your past that inspires you and is kind of a role model, and why?
I would say Dana Duckworth. She's the coach at University of Alabama, and she was a gymnast herself, and now she's the coach. And she's still in athletics herself, but then the way she coaches the girls to really take care of themselves and their health as a priority. She's just a game changer in the world of sport, really caring about the athletes, but then also helping them achieve their goals as an athlete and pushing them to the highest level. She's just found such a great balance as a coach, a mentor, a friend, and an athlete that she's the whole package for me.
I love that. So shout out to Dana Duckworth, the coach of Alabama. Yeah. Well, Mari, thank you so much for joining us on this episode. I think it was really great. And so out of everything we talked about today, because we talked about a lot, if you could give our listeners kind of one thing that they can, implement into their life right away, once they stop listening to this episode, what's one thing that they can add to their life or to do that will help them and impact them as a fierce, fit, and fueled female athlete?
Well, if you're not a client, I would say definitely give Lindsay a call or give Rise Up Nutrition a call, and it's free. There's no strings attached with that. It's just say, this is my situation. This is what I'm going through. Do you think this program would help? Because I'm 100% confident that if you need help in this area, Rise Up Nutrition has a phenomenal program to really pull people out of a really dark, unhealthy place. I'm really passionate about it, and I'm grateful to be a part of it. So give us a 15-minute call. Let us just talk to you about your story. See if this will help. And if it can't, we'll help point you in maybe a direction that can help. So that's a huge first step, I would say, the resource for you that you have available that's for free without judgment. And you can be completely open and honest here. And then another one, to reach out for help, something you can do is the self-care.
Yeah.
I think really finding rest for yourself in our society and culture, it's very productive based. And so it takes a lot of discipline to step back and not continue in the rat race, so to speak, and rest your body and your health and your mind. And I think from that place, you'll be able to think more clearly and be more productive.
Yeah. So think about one thing you can do today to incorporate some self-care into your life. And if that includes picking up the phone, then that is exactly what we, both Marie and I, are here for at Rise Up Nutrition, is to help you overcome your nutrition concerns and learn how to fuel your body for your highest level of performance, whether that be performance in sport or otherwise, performance just in your life and energy, or, being a mom in your situation, or maybe a mom to be. These are all things that, we can all use nutrition to boost us up and rise up to a higher level. So great advice, Marie. Thank you again for joining.
Thanks for having me.